This conference will now be recorded.
One more thing, Kiran. Hash table yesterday, you told that using means one pair of set of keys, right? Means I mean one table set we used. If I want to use, so yesterday we used developer thing. So if I
Right.
want to use a QA things, then how we can go with multiple queues,
Okay,
multiple hash tables?
that's a very good question. That's a very good question about how you can use, let's say, meaning what the question is right now is that right now he's asking that what you have tagged a resource group calling a developer out there. Now I understand that developers need to have, but if I need to apply the same logic to, let's say, a QA, so how would you change this value from, let's say, developer to QA and all that stuff? Is that question right?
Correct.
Oh,
So if you
okay.
want to send multiple hash table values, then how?
Okay, got it. I got it. We'll also look into that as in, like, how do you not hard code it? That's the main topic of today. But Sanjay, normally this is how the hash table declaration goes. Like, you need to have something called a variable equal to @ open flower braces and close flower braces, and you'll need to give key value pairs inside it. And once I execute this out here, right? And once I see what is there in the hash table, now this is how it's going to actually be. So I can use it in my scripts. Now, how do I use it? We'll also see that again, but with a better example on how to use it and all that stuff. We'll also cover how can you, let's say, do QA for QA and other environments for environments. But let's first start this class with, let's say, a very basic creation of, let's say, a resource group. So I am doing, okay, fine. I'm opening my terminal and I'm saying, okay, fine, give me a language called PowerShell. Now, guys, what is the command for creating a new resource group? Anyone?
New
Okay.
New
Please
AG
go.
resource group.
easy resource group
Okay, so it is new hyphen AZ resource group hyphen name
name
hyphen, I'll say developer RG. I'll say location is East US 2. Okay, something like this. So I'll just go ahead and execute this out. Okay, so it went ahead and created something called as a developer RG in, let's say, East US 2 location, and it gave it this particular subscription out here. Now imagine that if I were to give this script to someone as in, let's say, your client, or let's say an end user who's using this out. Meaning what they're trying to do right now is that they are trying to create a new resource group every time they execute this particular script, because the underlying fundamental of having a script is what? Reusability, right? That I can reuse the same thing. I don't have to write it again from the scratch, and I want to reuse the same thing. But guys, if I execute this out again, see what's this asking me for? Provided resource group already exists. Are you sure you want to update it? If I say yes, it will see, oh, okay, fine. He's trying to update an already existing resource group, but I don't see anything new in that. So I just went ahead and I said, okay, fine. I again provisioned it. Now, not once, not twice. Even if I do 100 times the same thing, it will give me the same message. Agreed with me? Like all on the same page?
Yes.
Yes.
Meaning my script is what? Static, right? My script is what? Static in nature as of now. Now, what is static about it? It is the name. Meaning, if I can somehow not hard code the name out here, this is called hard coding. Meaning I am just declaring my name out here directly. I am telling, hey, you know what? My name is developer RG. The name of, let's say, the resource group that's being created is developer RG. So no matter wherever you create it, please go ahead and create it as a developer RG only, right? Meaning I don't want this to be hard coded. Rather, can I implement a mechanism where I can, let's say, not hard code it and make it more dynamic? Of course you can, and this is called parameterization. What is parameterization? Very simple. How do you declare a parameter in PowerShell, guys?
$.
Exactly right. So I'll say this is dollar $RG name. I will just say this is dollar $RG name. And if I now start executing this out, it throws me an error telling that, hey, you know what? I cannot validate the name called parameter, because what is actually there in dollar $RG?
Nothing. Nothing is there.
Nothing. I haven't passed it, right? Like I haven't declared this variable anywhere. So can I declare it somewhere like, RG name? I can just use a variable called RG name and I can say developer RG. Can I do this? I can, but how's it a big
Yeah.
difference,
Yeah.
right?
Name is same.
Name is same. Even if I declare it here, or if I declare it here, it's the same name again. Like it's the same thing again. What I want is this not being a static value at all. I want to introduce some kind of a dynamism. I want to introduce some kind of a dynamism in here. So what I'm going to do is I'll say, hey, you know what? Check this out. Use a function called param. Open parenthesis and close parenthesis. In PowerShell, param means declaring a global variable out there, meaning telling PowerShell that, hey, you know what, before you execute the entire script, please wait, I will have to pass you something out there. And I'll say $RG name. So what am I doing essentially? I am parameterizing this particular value out here. I am saying, you know what, this is not a static value. When you execute the script at runtime, please expect me to pass a value something like this. And once you get this value, store it with you and use throughout the script wherever you find $RG name. Right, guys? So the question is then, how will I pass it? Like I have not assigned the name out here. I have not assigned anything out here. How will I really pass it? Now for that, I'll firstly have to save the script. I'll say Control S and I'll say parameterization dot ps1 and I save it. So this is how you save a PowerShell script. So any file that you take, any file you create in PowerShell, it's going to have an extension called .ps1. Now what am I doing is that I will call my script. How will I call my script exactly? I know that my script is in this folder, right? It's H PowerShell practice because that's where I put everything out there. And PowerShell practice is a folder. And if I do a dot backslash and to load whatever the scripts are there in that particular folder, I'll do a control space. Now it is loading me all these things, right? It's telling, hey, you know what? These are files that are actually there in your folder. Which file that you want to select? So what did I do again? I did a dot backslash control space. Got it? So it's looking every file. It's looking for every file within this particular working directory. Now I'll say, okay, fine. This is the file I'm working on, which is called parameterization.ps1. But if I give a space, and a hyphen. Just a second. Let me see. It's not loading up, but if I do a or something like this, test name. Okay. Okay, so just give me one quick second. Cannot run this current system for properly. Okay, fine, not a problem. Okay, so I happen to restart my. I happen to reboot my entire operating system. So my execution policy wouldn't have been. It's not allowing me to, let's say, go ahead and execute the scripts out here. So let me go ahead and change my execution policy. Let me firstly see what my execution policy set it. All signed. So I don't want this one. I want set execution policy hyphen execution policy hyphen unrestricted push. This is done. Let me see now what my execution policy is like. Okay, just great. Now let me do a clear screen and let me try this out again. I think I'll have to reload my entire PowerShell. Okay, because okay, so I'll have to reload the entire console. But let me see. Give me a second. Okay, unrestricted, which is great. Okay, load the terminal. Okay. Okay, unrestricted, which is great. Now let me try this out once more time. So it's like dot backslash and then give a space. And now see, I haven't done anything. What I did is I said hyphen control and then space. It said, okay, fine. You know what? I see that you have declared something called as a parameter in there. You have used something called as a parameter in there, meaning you have declared something as a parameter in your script. Do you now want to pass it? I'll say, okay, fine. Now it is not a developer RG that I'm trying to create. It's a QA RG. So can you create this out for me? What the script is going to do right now is like the script basically will go firstly and say, okay, I've got a name. Okay. Now what I did is something like this. I said, okay, this is my parameter that I'm declaring. RG name is, let's say, QA RG. And this value on the runtime will be what? QA RG. It now got the value. It will now pass it down to this particular parameter in there, and wherever I'm declaring this particular parameter, and then it's going to go ahead and execute this particular command. Now I am not hard coding this value, right? Every time when someone, or basically when someone can take this script and execute this out, all they need to do is pass in, let's say, RG name. Now I also want this particular parameter not to be static, rather it should be a dynamic parameter. Then how do I do it? I put a comma here and I declare another parameter called location. And here, instead of ECS2, I'll say dollar location, save the script out. Again, see, it is dot backslash control space. Take the name of the script, and now see, it's now saying that, you know what, I see there are two parameters that are there in your script right now. Like, which one do you want to declare? I'll say it is prod rg, and I'll say the location is North Europe. Now it is going to create something like this. Guys, did you all follow this?
So suppose we are not giving any parameters in the during running the file. So what happens in that case? It will directly ask the RG name and location to enter.
So if I am not giving any parameter out here, it will fail.
Okay.
The script is going to simply fail, telling that, hey, you know what, you have not declared the parameters out there. Now these are called mandatory parameters. You will have to pass them at runtime. And why is that? I mean, why is that you need to pass them at runtime? Because you don't want to hard code it in your scripts. And hard coding is not good at all. Hard coding is never good at all. Now someone asked me a question about the hash table, right? So I can take this and I can also declare something like this, right? I can put my hash table like this. I can say these are tags, and here instead of hard coding it, I'll say $team. I'll say $name. I'll say $email. Now here I just need to declare these parameters: $team, $name, $email. And when I am creating, let's say, a research group, I can use this particular value. And now what I can do is on the runtime. Now it's not showing all those things, right? The reason being I haven't saved my script. So you'll have to save your script firstly. So let me do a control S, saved. Now I'll say dollar backslash. Now see it's saying okay, RG name. I will say this is prod1 RG. Location is West US2. Team. Now I can say it is not a developer team, it's a QA team. Name, I can say ABC. Email, I can say abc@xyz.com. Now this now is not static at all. Now see, you have a name like QA team and all that stuff. I am not hard coding it as I did here. So does that answer your question? Like someone was asking, how can you not hard code it? And yeah, right. So this is how you go ahead and let's say not hard code your values out there. And what is the function to not hard code it? It's called a param, short form for parameterization. So whatever parameters that you actually want to go ahead and declare in your scripts, please go ahead and firstly declare them out here. These are the parameters that you need to pass mandatorily during the runtime. Now, if you declare it out here and you're not using it anywhere in your script, no problem, it won't fail. But you have to make sure to declare them at the runtime, even though if you're not using them. Guys, this is very, very important concept. I am okay to explain again. So are there any questions that I can take? Did everyone follow this?
So we are generally storing the value and we're giving right in the terminal itself.
Exactly. So we are storing the value and we are giving it in the terminal. So again, a question can be, again, this is again a manual process, right? Every time you have to, execute it in the terminal, you'll basically go ahead and, write all these things out. Now, this is not meant for writing in the terminal. We don't pass it in the real time in the terminal. Rather, we use a tool called Azure DevOps in order to execute all these things. We'll also see that while we come to Azure DevOps and how do you pass all these parameters to it. So that is truly automated. But for understanding, what we are doing right now is that we are passing these values on the terminal so that these values are not dynamic. Sorry, these values are not static. These are dynamic, and you pass it on the runtime. And as in when you pass it, these values get, these variables get assigned with a value, and they'll be passed on to your scripts. Now, if you look at my script, guys, am I using any static value out here? I am not, right? I have like taken out all these static values out here and I have given all dynamic values out here. So I've introduced parameterization and I've introduced dynamism in my script. Now, if you give this script to anyone, and even if they want to, let's say, create 100 resource groups, one resource group, one unique resource group each time, they can go ahead and do it. But whereas when we hard coded things out, you are leaving no room for dynamism at all. You're leaving no room for reusability at all. Guys, does this help?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, someone had a question, sorry. Okay, fine then. Now, until now, we've been only looking at what? Resource groups, right? Because that was the very small unit and that is easy to understand. That's the reason I made sure that I don't go beyond resource groups. That's the reason I was making sure that we implement all our scripts starting from a resource group and then go beyond. Now, there was also one more concept that we learned, which is about storage accounts, right? Now, I want to use an existing resource group to go ahead and create a storage account. Okay, so let me open up a new PowerShell terminal. And I'll say this is PowerShell. But the requirement now is something like this. Your script should be intelligent enough. Meaning, if the storage account exists, please type a message that it exists and don't create it. Because there's no point in creating what is already existing, right? If your storage account doesn't exist, your script should do what? It should create it. And make sure that you're not hard coding. Hard coding things in your script. So guys, I will try writing a script right now. So the first thing is that I don't want to hard code. So can anyone help me? What can I use to not hard code?
Parameters.
Exactly.
Arrows.
Params, exactly, great. So we will need to use something known as what? Params in our script. So let's park that out for a second. But firstly, I will need to check if the resource group already is existing or not, right? If it does, then I won't create it. If it doesn't, then I will create it. That's the logic that I need. Now, guys, can anyone tell me which command that I can use to check whether a storage account exists or not?
It.
Great. So I will say get hyphen. We did an AZ resource group till now. Let's do an AZ storage account. And then you need a resource group, right? So resource group name. So this is my resource group name parameter out here. So I'll say resource group name. Let's take one of the existing resource groups that we kind of created right now. Let me see what is there on the portal. I would have created a lot of things right now. Okay, fine. We'll take a developer RG for our testing out here. So I am saying, okay, fine, developer RG and name. Now for now, I am hard coding things out, but we will check this out again. Okay. So I'll say this is test store account to ZZ000, something like this, so that the name is unique. Now, what is this command even going to do, guys? If I execute it, it will go ahead inside this particular resource group and it will check whether this particular storage account exists or not, right? So let me try executing this out and let me see what I get. I am now getting an error message telling that, hey, you know what? The storage account was not found under this particular RJ. Now this error is expected, right? Because PowerShell, went ahead, it went into a resource group and it checked for that particular storage account. It did not get that storage account and it threw an error telling that, hey, you know what? I don't find this storage account. Now, this is a valid behavior, but all I'm doing is I'm checking whether it exists. And if it doesn't exist, I'll go ahead and let's say create something new. So I don't want it to throw an error here because I know that if it doesn't exist, it will any which ways go ahead and create it. So there's no point in throwing an error out here, because what happens in a general behavior of your PowerShell script is that when you're writing, let's say 100 lines of code, and let's say line number 6 breaks, meaning line number 6 throws an error, your script will stop at line number 6. It will not go forward. It will not move forward. So I don't want my script to break every time here, but rather I want to go ahead and create something that is already existing. So what I'll tell PowerShell out here is that, hey, you know what? Your error action should silently continue. Don't throw an error. I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to get something that is not existing, and if it's not existing, I'm going ahead and creating it out. So I don't want you to throw an error outright. Now, if I execute this, what happens really? It doesn't do anything. I am suppressing the error that is coming out here. Guys, good till here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I am suppressing the error that is coming till here. Now I'll say, okay, fine. If it doesn't return any value, if this command doesn't return any value, then what does it mean? That there is no storage account, right? If this command returns some value, it means that there is a storage account already with that particular name, right? Simple logic. So I'll say, for me to actually see, or for me to actually test if this command is returning some value or not, I will store it in a variable called storage check. And guys, please make it a habit to declare your variables in a proper way, because when someone actually comes and sees your script, right, and they can only follow this variable, they'll only see this variable and they'll say, okay, fine, store check. Okay, this guy is trying to check the existence of a storage account. Okay, so I am saying store check. Now I am saying, if I execute this out, since there is no storage account in there, what will be the value in store check, guys? Guys, anyone?
It is null.
Great. It is a null value because there isn't anything that this command is actually returning me. Now I'll say, if dollar store check is equal to dollar null. A dollar null is a predefined variable in Azure. I'm sorry, in PowerShell. If I execute this, you will actually have a null value inside it. Meaning if the store check is equal to null, then what should I do? I will create one, right? So I will write something like store check returned a null value, attempting to create one. Now, in order to make sure that my commands are, they are differentiated from each other, I will give a color to the command lines. So if I do a hyphen here with right host, and if I do a foreground color as let's say yellow or something like this, this text would be typed in yellow. So just to make sure I differentiate things out. So I am saying if store check is equal to null, then right host store check return the null value, go ahead and create one. Now guys, can anyone help me with what could be the command for creating a new storage account?
Yeah.
Right? So let's see what are all the parameters that are actually required. If I go ahead from the portal and create a storage account out here, let's say if I do a storage account, and let's say if I create one new, what are all the mandatory parameters, guys? I have a storage account name, I have a region, I have the performance tier, I have the redundancy, which is LRS, GRS, and etc. And I also have something called as in the access tier, just hot or cool. So let's try giving the same parameters out here. Let's say new hyphen AZ storage account hyphen resource group name is what? Developer RG. Then you have, let's say, okay, fine. So you have, let's say, the name of your storage account, which is this one. And then you have a SKU name. SKU name is nothing but your redundancy only. Premium LRS, standard LRS, and all these things. So I'll say it is a standard LRS. And then you have something like the account type and all these things out. So you have location. So main parameter location, I will say East US2. And then the access tier is hot. And then the account kind or the kind is storage v2. Or if you don't know what is the account kind, you can say control space. So it's saying blob storage, file storage, whatever you want. So I'll say it is storage v2 out here. So I am saying if there is no account, please go ahead and create one. And after it is created, okay, let me do function in. I'll say right host storage account with the name. What is the name that we are creating, guys? This one, right? Successfully created. And for this also, I can go ahead and assign a color out here. So I'll say this is blue. I said if it doesn't exist, meaning if the storage check is equal to null. Now I should also go ahead and say else, right? Meaning if the storage check is not equal to null, I don't have to declare it explicitly that it's not equal to null. I am just telling, hey, you know what? If the storage check is equal to null, then do this. Else is every time a complementary statement to if. If would be generally followed by an else. Else say right host storage account already exists, or storage account with the name that we've given out there already exists. Please go for a new name. Fair enough. Shall we execute this, guys, and see what happens? Guys, any questions in the script before we execute this out? Guys, anything? Okay, fair enough. So I'll just execute. So I'm just selecting all the lines and I'm just doing a function F8 on my keyboard. So it said, okay, fine. Store check returned a null value attempting to create one. Now, where is my script? It is on line 9. It said, you know what? Yes, I got a null value. Now I will go ahead and create one right now. So give me a minute so that I can create this. So creation will always take some time. So we'll just give it a minute and we'll see how it let's say creates this out. So firstly, what it did, now it said, you know what? Storage account with the name test this particular storage account successfully created. And it's telling you, I have created this particular storage account in this particular SKU and all that stuff, the creation date and all that stuff. Now, if I execute the script again, guys, what will I get? Anyone?
Already exists.
Right? So it will go into what? The else loop. Now see, storage account with the name something like this already exists. Please go for a new name. Now, in order to differentiate this, you can also give a color to it. Foreground color is something like, let's say, since this is a warning, we can go for, let's say, dark green or something like that. Now it says, you know what, storage account with the name is already existing. Please go ahead and go for a new name, meaning please go ahead and create something new. Guys, we good with this? Any questions till here that I can take? Guys, I'm going very slow in this class. The reason being, this is very important concepts. You'll keep using them again and again. So very important, so that very important that you need to understand this. So are we on the same page, guys?
In order to create different storage accounts, can we put stars?
Like here, like star out here.
Yeah, yes, different storage
So,
accounts.
so what happens is that if you put a star out here, right? Like this is what you're talking about, is it?
Yes.
So if you put a star out here, right, it will consider this to be the name of the storage account along with the star, and it will throw an error to you, telling that, you know what, there are no special characters allowed. For example, if I do this, the script is going to break. See, the storage account name is not valid. It's not really valid because you are giving me a name something like this. So what we're gonna do to make sure that this is dynamic is let's parameterize this. My script contains a lot of static values right now, like research group name, like the storage account name, like the location, like the SKU. I don't want things to be static. I want to do what? A parameterization. Guys, so this is my third concern. So I did, if the storage account exists, I'll not do anything. If it doesn't, I'll create it, which is done. Now I will make sure that there is no hard coding in that script. Guys, so what is the command that I can use out here, or what is the function that I can use out here rather? Param, right? So param, I want to make sure that the RG name is parameterized. The storage account CCOUNT account name is also not static. The location is also not static. And the SKU type, which is LRS, GRS, and all those stuff, even that's not static. And the rest all, I'm okay with it. The rest, the kind and all, I'm like okay with it. So I can just say save, just say storage account creation, create.ps1. Once it's saved, you can now go ahead and say, okay, fine, you know what? Now you need to do what? You need to make sure to use these values, right? So I'll say this is $rg name. This is $storage account name. And again, same thing I'll apply here also. I just copy this, paste it out here. So all I'm doing right now is making sure that I'm not hard coding anything out. $storage account name, and this is also a $skew. And even these things that are printing these out, I can say $storage account name. This one also, storage account name. Just save this out and make sure that everything is like, parameterized out here. Now I'll say dot backslash space storage account create.ps1. RG name is, what was the RG name? It was developer RG. Storage account name is something like test2cz0001 store account, something like a random name out here. Location is this US2. Skew is standard underscore LRS. Now guys, you will have to declare the skew in this way, meaning you'll have to declare the replication tier in this way. If you just type in LRS, it'll throw an error telling that I don't know what is it, because this is a language of what? PowerShell. So if you execute this right now, first it will go check the storage account. It will say, you know what, storage check return to null value. I'll try go ahead and create this out. It'll create it and it will write this out, telling, hey, you know what, I have created it successfully. This is introducing dynamism in your scripts. This is to make sure that you are not hard coding and you have a proper script out here, that if it doesn't exist, it'll go ahead and create it. If it exists, it will not do anything. It'll just say, telling that, you know what, hey, this is, let's say, the name is already like, kind of taken. Guys, is this good? Guys, any questions?
Yes, here we are giving each and every parameter, right? So instead of
Right.
that, can we take from CSV file
Yes, we
if we
can
are
pick up
creating
from a
multiple?
CSV file. Yes, you can pick up from a CSV file. You can pick up from a JSON file. So we'll see also that's called file handling. So if you have like multiple values and all, you can also go ahead and read from that particular file and all that stuff. If you, let's say, have a multiple values out here.
Okay.
Guys, any questions? Okay, then I have created a storage account right now, which is good enough. How do I create a container inside the storage account? Because that's something that we want to do, right? So this, I have a storage account out here. Like it should have created another storage account also. But I want to catch this particular storage account. And I want to create, let's say, containers inside it. So what are all the required things when I go for a container creation? If I say add a container, I'll say the name, it'll say the access level, right? Two things, the name and the access level. Access level is either private, public, or anonymous. I mean, private, blob, container, all these things out. So what is the command that you need to use? Firstly, I don't know how to create. Let's imagine I don't know what the command is. So I'll say create a storage container in PowerShell. PowerShell. You have the command right in front of you saying it is what? New hyphen storage container, right? So let me try doing that out here. But here there's a lot of scripting out here. So I want to comment everything out. I don't want to actually execute this. So guys, what is the symbol that I can use for commenting something?
Hash.
Right. So I can go ahead and put a hash at each and every line because I have so many lines out here. I have only like 20, that is good enough. But what if I have thousands of lines that I want to comment? So what you can do is less than symbol, hash, and we want to close it here somewhere, hash and greater than symbol. So it's something like this, less hash and then greater hash. This is called commenting a lot of lines at once. So I have like commented a lot of lines at the same time, right? Now I'll say new hyphen what? AZ storage container, if that was the right command. I'll say okay, fine. Now it's saying okay, fine. I know, I understand the container and understand what you want to create. Give me the name of the container. I'll say it is test 001. Then it's asking me what is the permission. Permission is what? Blob container off, meaning public access level at blob, public access level at container, off is private. So I'll say private. Guys, so I have written a very simple script which can go ahead and say it'll do a new storage account container, and I'll say name and the permission is off. Guys, am I missing anything in this? Anything that you
Yeah,
can think
storage
of?
account.
Yeah, storage account.
Exactly. So I'll say, okay, fine. I also want to declare the storage account name. And I'll take the storage account that we were like, working with. I'll put the name here. For now, let's hard code it. And I will execute it. So is this okay, guys? Anything else that, that comes to your mind?
Resource group.
Okay. So I'll say resource group, P group, and I'll just take the resource group basically that was just there. And I think it's a developer RG. So I'll say developer RG. Anything else, guys?
I think resource group is not required because we are directly handling with the storage account that is unique,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Fine. So I'll just remove the resource group. So can I go execute the script, guys, or does anyone want to add anything else to this one? Okay, let's execute it. Let's see what it comes. It says, hey, you know what? I don't find a parameter with the name storage account, meaning this command new hyphen AZ storage account will only accept these parameters. Now, do you see a storage account name out here? No, right? This can only accept name, permission, and all these things out. It does not accept storage account name. Okay, so I'll take this out and I'll execute this out again. The question is, how will it know that which storage account to create then? Right? So one very important question, guys, is let's say I want to create a storage, or I want to create a container inside a storage account using a tool like Microsoft Storage Explorer. What do you think is essential to connect to the storage account? Guys, anyone?
Strings,
Exactly.
connection string.
Connection strings. Now, if I am going ahead in the portal and creating this container, it is not asking me for a connection string because I have logged into the account, right? So it doesn't need a connection string. It understands I'm an administrator, I have the proper RBAC and all. But if I'm coming from external, like though I have logged in, I'm still creating it from, let's say, an external tool, like let's say VS Code or PowerShell ISE. Then how does it understand what is the connection string or what is the permission that I have? Now, one thing out here is that it needs to understand the resource group name, the location, the storage account name, and also the connection string, these four things. All those things together, like whatever the connection strings, all those value together are known something called as a storage account context. What exactly is storage account context? Let's see that. I'll say a dollar context. I'll put a proper value out here and I'll say get hyphen AZ storage account. Resource group name is developer RG. Storage account name is something like this one. And if I execute this out, and if you look at what is there inside the context, it has storage account name, resource group name, primary locations, queue and all. Guys, if I only want the storage account name, what can I do? I only want a storage account name out here. What can I do here? Sorry?
We need to go for that storage account name.
Right? So I'll do open parenthesis, close parenthesis. I'll say dot storage account name. Or if you don't want something like this, the context now has everything that is related to the storage account. This variable now has everything that is related to the storage account. What if I do dollar context dot storage account name? I'm getting it right. If you do a dollar context dot SKU, what will you get, guys? Guys, anyone?
Tier.
Hot access tier.
No, its SKU is what?
LRS.
This one.
Standard
Standard
LRS.
Okay.
LRS.
Standard LRS.
Standard LRS, right? Now I want to get the connection strings and all those things out there. What do I do is I say dollar context dot context. What does this return me really? It's written me everything that I need. Connection strings, endpoints, everything that I need. And this is what the command is expecting you to have. If you look at the examples out here, mission name and all that stuff, it will have a parameter called dollar context. That's what it threw an error out here. If you look at this, it's telling you know what? Could not get the storage context. I could not go ahead and get the storage context. Can you please pass a proper context out here? Now I have a proper context. And I'll say hyphen context is what? Context dot context. Now if I execute this out, it went ahead and it created a container for me inside this particular storage account. Test 001. This is how you will have to use the commandlets. This is how you'll have to understand what it's actually asking. And I understand a lot from the errors. And in the real-time environment, believe me, you will face a lot of errors while writing your scripts. So I would request each and every one of y'all to start reading these errors right from the day you're practicing it out. If you're getting errors, that is a very good sign. If you're not getting an error, then that means that you're not practicing anything new. please try to get as many as errors you can. Write down those errors, understand what that error means, Google it out, and see how you can improve your script. Guys, now the assignment for today is I have created a container. Can you all go ahead, create a container and also upload files inside it? How do you do it? Just say upload files inside into a container using PowerShell, and you will have a lot of documentation out here to read. Create a blob with all those stuff, and the command for it is something like set-az storage content, or set-container content, something like az storage container, creating a container, set-az storage blob content, and they're passing the context also. This is something that I want you all to do, guys. This is okay?
Sure.
Is that okay, guys? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay, great. Any questions that I can take, guys? Anything? Anything, guys? Anything? Anything before we close for today? Okay, so let me stop the recording a quick second.